Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Business of Show, where we interview industry professionals in the art and business of television, entertainment, and that other stuff. The Business of Show explores the practical issues and practices of working in television, theater, and feature films by interviewing the artists who occupy those worlds. If it feels a little bit like a James Lipton ripoff, it is. Emmy Award nominee for Family Guy, Emmy Award nominee and co-executive producer for The Cleveland Show, Annie Award nominee for Family Guy, co-executive producer for The Neighbors, one-time star of Josh and Drake, writer and producer of Family Guy's Something, Something, Something Dark Side, novelist of Blue Agave and Worm, and a very average banjo player. Please welcome Kirker Butler. Kirker, I just got a little more business here I got to get rid of, and then we turn to you. But as you guys know here, the Business of Show, it's a bit informal. We base this on interviews with our guests. After I finish my droning, we're going to go to you, our newly paroled studio audience, for Q&A, so please prepare something. I'll get ready to ignore you, okay? After the Q&A, it's tequila for everybody on me. Also, Kirker, we're going to warn you that we have a random question generator compiling questions from our former guests, and including some of those in our Q&A. Our audience has to guess which inquiries apply to you, and you have been cautioned. Okay. Welcome. This is Kirker Butler. One more time. Say hi. Can I ask, where are you right now, Kirker? Is this your house?
Yeah, I'm in my my home office.
You know, I'm fascinated by what you have around you, because you have a lot of like figurines, and you have a lot of like animated or kind of action figure type stuff. Do you collect those? Is that something you do?
Kind of. I mean, this is the room I wanted when I was 12 years old, and so I finally, yeah. So I've got like Star Wars toys from when I was a kid, and then some Family Guy stuff and artwork from Family Guy and posters and just a bunch of weird things that I've collected over the years.
I teach my writing students that around my desk, like you, I write. I don't get paid as much as you do, but I write a lot, and I keep figurines around my desk because I do find that they kind of jump me into ideas every now and again. Do you find the same kind of thing?
I do, yeah. This is basically what this is. I've kind of surrounded myself with stuff that inspires me, and also a bar because
Yeah.
because you got to have that. But yeah, no, it's comfortable. It is. It's everything that I need and everything that I want. And I look around and it's just what makes me comfortable.
It looks very homey. It looks very comfortable.
It is. It was a room in the house that looked like it looked like something out of a Saw movie. It was really kind of horrifying. And so we decided that, oh yeah, this is this is perfect for my office.
Yeah.
So it didn't have any walls or anything, and I've got a bathroom down here now with a urinal, so my wife can't come down here uh, and
Nice.
take it over. So
I
it's
don't know if
good,
you,
yeah.
I don't know if you can hear, but you're getting a lot of laughs from our house here, so you
Oh,
can't
good.
hear that, but it's working real well. Okay, now I'm going to go into a couple of questions here, and then we're going to gab some more. But okay, now, according to the most recent Gallup poll, Kirker Butler is the second most popular export from Kentucky. So, Kirker, our first question to you: if you were forced to pick,
Yes.
would you choose Wild Turkey Kentucky Spirit, Four Roses Small Batch, A.H. Hirsch Reserve, or other?
Wow. That's a very good question. I actually have about 60 bottles of Kentucky bourbon in my house right now. I've got, I don't know, like 10 down here. I think the Four Roses of that list I would choose. Yeah.
Party at Kirker's after the show tonight, you guys. Now, what you're from Kentucky, so is that like a genetic thing that bourbon is the drink of choice?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, up until about a year ago, I had to quit, but up until about a year ago, I drank a lot of Mountain Dew as well. So bourbon and Mountain Dew just kind of is in my blood,
Yeah.
like literally in my blood.
Gosh. Okay, tell us now. What are you working on now? What's your? I'm going to get to what your day is like, but what are you working on? What's your next target?
I'm working on a show right now called Gallivant for ABC. It is a musical comedy fairy tale, medieval, and we're shooting in England. We have castles, and it's pretty, excuse me, it's pretty incredible. I was just there last week, shooting an episode that I wrote, and Ricky Gervais was in it. And I mean, it was amazing. In the morning, I went to Peter Gabriel's studio and we recorded some dialogue. And then I went back to the set, and Ricky Gervais was there doing words that I wrote, and it was just kind of the most amazing thing ever. Um, and we only did 8 of those. It debuts in January, and yeah, so that's what I've been focusing on for the past 6 months or so.
Now you're writing. Are you producing as well?
I am co-executive producer and writer.
So what's your day like now? Let's just go to England for a typical day of production for you. What's that like? What time do you get up? What's your first functions? What are you doing?
Well, it's very different. This is unlike any other show I've ever worked on because we do shoot in England, and all the writing is done here in Los Angeles. So for me being here, what we would do is we go in. It's tough, guys. We roll in about 10 o'clock. We send someone out for Starbucks, and then we kind of kick around ideas for a while. It depends on what we have to do. Sometimes there are scripts that need just they need some love, and it's a musical too. So songs are coming in from Alan Menken, who's writing all this great stuff. So we have to incorporate the songs into the script, and that sometimes means rewriting the dialogue for it to fit. And then we're usually done here, 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Now in England, it's very different. They're shooting all day, usually around 7 in the morning until about 8 at night. And it depends on what we're doing. We have 2 sound stages in Bristol, which is about an hour and a half outside of London. And then we also will go on location. We have, oh my God, we've done castles, we've done pirate ships, we've done monasteries, and we've had this amazing guest cast. We've had Ricky Gervais and Weird Al Yankovic, Rutger Hauer, Hugh Bonneville, John Stamos. It's this crazy list of people that have just signed on to do our weird little show, and it's been unbelievable.
It sounds fascinating. Tell me now about a production week for you when you're in London. You're fixing scripts, but you're also in production as well. So you're in production for this episode, but you're fixing scripts for next episode as well. Is that right?
Right. We were shooting. We only did, like I said, we did 8. We had the pilot, and they ordered 7 more. So we were shooting episode 6, and then we shot that during the week. And then on, I believe it was Thursday night, after we were done shooting, we got all the cast together. We did table reads for episodes 7 and 8. And then after the table reads, I think there was me and Dan Fogelman, who's the creator, the director, and then 2 other writers who are over there. They've been over there the whole time. They've been living there for the past, I think, 4 months as we've been doing this. And so the 5 of us sat in a room and kind of figured out what didn't really work with the scripts. And usually what will happen is the writers will then rewrite the scripts based on what didn't work. But when you've got someone like Dan Fogelman, I don't know if you know Dan, but he wrote Cars, Pixar's Cars, and Tangled, and Crazy Stupid Love, and Last Vegas, and Guilt Trip, and he just directed this Al Pacino movie that's brilliant. So when you have someone like that who created the show, he has it all in his head, and he said, I'll just do this rewrite myself, and he knocked the whole thing out in about an hour, and it was 10 times funnier than it was before.
Don't you hate guys like that?
Yeah, I mean, and he's got no ego, and he's a nice guy. It's kind of the worst.
Wonderful. Hi, welcome back. Thank you.
Thanks. Sure.
We had a solar flare, and like 4 people in the audience were killed, but we're just going to keep going on if that's all right.
You got somebody there. What's 4? It's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, tell me more now. You were saying we asked you the question about your writing. So how long would it take you to generate that episode front to back?
It depends. Usually, show to show. Sometimes you're starting from scratch, and you don't have an idea at all, and someone will pitch out a line. And so then you go from there, and once they pitch out that line, it's just like a 1-line idea of a script, then we'll end up breaking all 3 acts, and sometimes that takes 2 days, and sometimes it takes 2 weeks. But going into this, Dan had broken all 8 episodes, so he knew exactly what he wanted. So we had the general idea of this episode, And then we talked about it in the room with all the writers for a couple days, I guess. And then I went off to write it, and I think I did it in like a week or something.
Wonderful. And now the rewrite. So you guys have done a table read. You've gotten your talent around. You maybe have some department people as well. You do the table read, and then you and others are taking notes on that read, and then either you're taking that or somebody else is taking those revision notes and incorporating them. Is that right?
Right. I mean, everyone who's listening or all the writers, we're all taking notes. Sometimes the actors are taking notes, but we don't really listen to what the actors say.
Smart man.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't ever do that. Everyone out there listening, don't listen to actors. Just don't.
Yeah.
And so all the writers will take notes, and then the network and studio, they will give their input, and it's usually not very helpful. And so you have to figure out a way to take their notes and make it seem like you've done what they've asked for, when in turn you're just really doing what you want to do. And that's a whole other skill set that I'm learning, and it's still very difficult to do, because my natural tendency is just to look at them like they're idiots. But that, they don't like that. And they're signing the checks, so I kind of have to smile and go, yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll all take our notes, and then we'll get together after a table read and discuss as a group, and then we'll figure out what we want to do, what we want to change. If there are things that we're kind of on the fence about, we'll maybe wait and hear them again on stage, but we'll write what's called alts, alternate jokes, and we'll have a list of those. And then if we hear this on stage and it just doesn't work, we'll give them a new line there on set.
That's perfect. We talk a lot in a couple of our writing classes about the rule of 10. You guys remember, it's if for every joke that works, you write 9 others that are not working quite as well. And Kirker references alts in this as well, where even when they have a script that they consider really good, they're going to add more to that or have backups to it as well, just in case it's not working right live on the set at that day. How much rewrite do you do during the shoot itself? Do you get into a little bit of rewrite while you're shooting?
Sometimes it's usually just a line or two. It's never much more than that, because the actors, you can't really give them. Well, some actors you can give an entire monologue to, and they can read it once and say it verbatim, and it's perfect. And there are some actors that you can't change a comma. So it just depends, and you have to learn which actors you can change things with.
Now you finding a bigger challenge with the international production now? Now, is it dramatically different than what you're doing, with the travel for you and the overseas shooting, all that kind of stuff?
It's very different in terms of how it's done, because over here, all of the crews are union crews. They're all Teamsters, and then the actors, writers, directors, everyone has their union. But there aren't any crew unions over there. There's still actors, writers, and directors, but there's no crew unions, and so there's no overtime. So they don't work past, like, if you're set to go from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., you don't go past 8 p.m. And if you have to get one more shot, you have to ask everybody if they'll stay another 5 or 10 minutes, and then they collectively will boo you. But then they're British, they're very polite, and of course they give you the 10 minutes.
That's great. Hey, okay, we're going to jump around a little bit with questions, if that's okay. Can you tell us about meeting George Lucas?
Yeah, it was. I went up to Skywalker Ranch with Seth Green and Mike Henry. They were doing something for Robot Chicken. They were doing the second Star Wars thing with Robot Chicken. And George Lucas was there, and he was walking around, and Seth said, "Oh, come here, I'll introduce you to George Lucas." So I went over, and he introduced me, and I said, "I'm very happy to meet you. I just wanted to say, I wrote the Empire Strikes Back episode of Family Guy." And he looked at me and he went, "Oh." Literally turned around and walked away.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a huge laugh with that here. Okay, I got a random question for you. In a sumo match between you and Mila Kunis, who would win?
Oh, I would just let her climb on top of me.
There you go. Nice. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a few more questions before we go to our Q&A with the house here. I want to go back into your past. Firstly, how did you get started in the business? I mean, You know, I know. Okay, well, let me do a little credits here. Kirker attended Western Kentucky University. Western Kentucky University, is that right?
Yep.
Received a Bachelor of Fine Arts. He was born in Hartford, Kentucky, and I believe that Christine Google says that he's born in Hartford, Connecticut, right?
Yeah, it does. I don't know why it says that. Actually, I was born in Florida, but I don't like to talk about that because it's Florida. So, but I grew up in Kentucky, in Hartford, Kentucky. Yeah.
Now, are you a happy person or a sorehead?
You know, I'm an honorary sorehead. I have the certificate to prove it.
His town has a very famous motto that Hartford is 2,000 people of happy people and a few soreheads. So in Hartford, you're either a happy person or a sorehead.
And when you reach sorehead status, it's like you get the key to the city. It's a pretty big deal, guys.
Yeah, listen, in Hartford, this is as big as it gets. Okay, another one, just a little history, and then we're going to get more into the kind of your background there too. But you were born almost exactly halfway between the birthplaces of Jefferson Davis and Abraham Lincoln. Almost exactly halfway between the two, both of them born in the state of Kentucky, by the way.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that leads us to this important question. What is your favorite food?
My favorite food. Wow, that's interesting. I like to eat a lot. I can't really say my favorite food. I don't know. I mean, if I say like sushi, I sound like an LA asshole, and I don't want to do that.
But I mean, if you had to pick, if somebody said, okay, desert island, you can bring this. Is it a burger? Is it sushi? Is it ribs? Is it Kentucky pig roast?
If I was on a desert island, I would take a sushi chef who would catch fish and make nice sushi for me.
Wow, that works. That's, by the way, that was a Family Guy episode that he wrote. So there. Okay, how did you get started then? When did you start? When was the first time you said, you know, I think I might try this entertainment business thing as a career? When did that happen?
I was in college when I decided that I wanted to get into the theater department. I'd actually been going to school to be a Southern Baptist youth minister, which obviously did not pan out.
Do you know that everybody in the audience all nodded their head when you said that? They all went, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah. That's a perfect beginning for a Family Guy writer. So it was just not for me. And after that, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I kind of stumbled into the theater department. And I met some great people, and I'd always loved movies, and I'd always, TV was my life, and I just really enjoyed it, and I took to it. There was something about it when I met those people. I mean, these are my people. These weird people are my people.
You found a home.
So
yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And so then I was going to be an actor, not knowing. I mean, and it's a very small theater department there in Western Kentucky. And you think you're just going to go wherever you want to be, and you're going to get the lead and everything like you did in college, and it's just not true. So I went to Chicago, went to Second City, and so I was there in 94, 95, and I got a job as a host, so I could be there and see the show every night. And in the time that I was there, on the main stage was Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert and Adam McKay, and Amy Poehler was running around, and all these just great, amazing, incredible performers. And I went to you, Joe, and I said, I said, if that is what this is supposed to be, then I can't do it, because they're phenomenal. They're so above and beyond anything I'm capable of doing. And you looked at me and you said, well, you're funny. Can you write? And I said, I don't know. And you said, well, go write something. And I did. And I continued writing, and it took me a while. That was in like 94, I think. And I got my first professional writing job in like 2001. So it took a while, but I wrote after that. I wrote every day. I wrote screenplays, I wrote plays, I wrote short fiction, I wrote everything I could. And I was doing a short film called The Confetti Brothers, and I had to get Rip Taylor to be in it, because if you're doing a show about confetti, you've got to get Rip Taylor.
Sure.
And yeah, so I came to Los Angeles, He was in Vegas. I flew to LA, and I was going to meet with this mutual friend. I had this friend, and he said, "I've got a writer friend in LA. You should have lunch with him when you're there." And I said, "Fine, I'll meet a writer." And so I get here, and this guy says, "So I hear you're a writer." Or I said to him, I said, "So I hear you're a writer. What do you write?" And he said, "Well, right now I'm running Friends. Friends, the Friend." Like, oh,
Nice.
so you're
Nice.
so you're like a writer. And he said, "Yeah, do you have anything that I can read?" And I said, "As a matter of fact, I do." And I gave him like 2 spec scripts, Everybody Loves Raymond and a '70s show, and then a screenplay that I had written, and a play and a short film that I was there to direct. And he said, "Great, I'll read this and let you know." And I went back to Kentucky. I was living in Kentucky at the time. And he called me and said, "I really think this is great. What are your plans?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to move to LA in a few months after I get married." And he said, "Stay in touch." So I stayed in touch, and then I'd been living in LA about 2 years, and he called me up and said, "I've got this show on the WB with Amanda Bynes and Jenny Garth called What I Like About You, and would you like to write for it?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so that's how that happened.
Isn't that fabulous? Now, what can I just say? Where are my students? Raise your hands, a couple of them. When we talk about portfolio, that's exactly what we're talking about. Kirker was prepared to share that information and that material immediately. He had a whole bag of stuff that he could take out and do this. Again, we'll talk much more about this in lectures and stuff, but that portfolio is so critical for you. It's so important to have it contemporary, ready to go, properly formatted, brilliant, all that kind of stuff as well.
That's the worst thing anybody can say is, "I want to be a writer," and they say, "What have you written?" And you say, "Oh, I've got some ideas for some stuff."
Yeah.
Because the
meeting ends very quickly after that, and
it really does.
And they'll smile too. You remember? I've said this to you before. They'll smile. "Oh, well, you let me know when you've got something," and they never want to talk to you again. So
yeah,
we're going to do a few questions from the house now. Is that okay, you guys? Now's your opportunity to ask this industry giant. Say that again. Kirker, we're going to have to take a pause here. 2-minute pause? Are we at a 2-minute pause? We're going to pause for 2 minutes, Kirker, and then we're going to go to our audience Q&A. So we'll be back to you in 2 minutes, okay?
Great.
You hang there. Okay, hi, we're back at the Business of Show, and welcome back, everybody. Kirker Butler, one more time. How about that? Yeah? I have to tell this story for Kirker, because he's very nice to me, and he's very giving. But I used to come in. I was directing in the ETC, I believe, at the time, or yeah, I think I was directing in the ETC. I don't remember, but I was also teaching a little bit, and Kirker had been in a few classes as well. And I remember though when he was hosting, and Main Stage would be on, and Kirker was a young guy, and he was enamored of these people on stage, and they were pretty powerful people on stage there. But I would wander over, and there would Kirker, and a line would come up in an improv, and Kirker would say something. He would literally say something just to himself that was funny. And 3 or 4 minutes later, I'd walk by again, and he'd have another line. He'd be adding lines to the scene that was on stage right now, and it was just as funny as what they were doing up here. So as much as he says, the performance aspect of it for him may have been a little bit daunting, but his comedy brain was as good as anybody's. The thing I want to share with you is he was continually refining that comedy brain, no matter where he was, what he was doing, no matter what position he was in. He's hosting at Second City, and he's still studying while he's hosting, if that makes any sense. So we, like this, for our purposes as well, especially as writers, you carry your notebook, you listen. We talk Mamet a lot. Mamet used to listen to people on the L. He used to listen to people on buses. He would write down notes. He would write down lines of really captivating dialogue that he would say. So everything becomes his notebook. Everything becomes his workbook. Kirker's like that as well. He operates that way. His life is like that as well. So there. Okay, Q&A time. Who's up? Who wants to ask Kirker a question? Go ahead. Come on up here. We're going to put you onto the mic, even though I'm going to have to repeat the question so Kirker can hear it. Yeah, hi, welcome.
Hi. Hi, Kirker.
Hi.
I had just read an interview that you had done, and in it you said that Confetti Brothers was your favorite thing that you had worked on. What about Confetti Brothers was so great, and why did you enjoy it so much?
Wow, I don't know saying that.
He was drunk at the time.
I was. I'm drunk a lot. Yeah. Probably because it was like the first thing that I really did on my own. In terms of I wrote it, I directed it, I produced it, I cast it. I mean, it was my baby. And I watch it now, and some of it still, I'm still. I mean, for the most part, I'm proud of it. It's a little long and it's a little amateurish, but it was an accomplishment. It was something that I wanted to do, and I did it, and I finished it. And we showed it in Cannes in 2001. It wasn't a part of the official film festival; it was one of the side festivals. But I got to go to Cannes and show this short film that I made in the basement of the house I was living in Louisville, Kentucky. So it was kind of life changing. It was great.
Now, again, the lesson we're going to take away from this is let's not wait for anybody to create our stuff. Let's not wait for permission, somebody else to tell us to create something. Kirker didn't wait. He went out and started producing his own stuff, and that led him to a lot of different places. Hi, welcome. Do you have a question?
I do. Hello, Kirker. Fellow weirdo here. Fellow weirdo here, if you can hear me. I was watching an episode of Family Guy. I'm not sure if you wrote it, and I apologize. It's the episode where Lois asks Peter if he only married her for her money because her father was very wealthy. And then I thought Peter's father was a drunk. And I related that to my life because my mom's father is very well off and my dad's mom was a drunk. And I thought, oh, that this comedian had a life that might be like mine. So my question that I finally got to is, do you think that this community of comedians are just innately messed up and trying to make sense of their childhood?
Yes.
Then I'm on the right path.
Yes,
yeah. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and an actor friend, and he said he also did Second City, and we were talking about my dad left when I was 3, and then there was a stepfather who was what he was, and I said, and that's why I'm funny, and he said, yeah, my dad was shot in the stomach when I was 4. I'm hilarious. So yeah, I think a lot of I think that's a lot of what this is just trying to sort out your shit.
That's it. Hi, welcome. Do you have a question?
Yes. Now, you obviously do a lot of comedy, but when you were just getting started in writing, did you ever think of writing anything else like drama or action, or did you always just want to do comedy?
Pretty much comedy. I've got a novel coming out in March called Pretty Ugly, and it's a satire, but there's some drama in it too. There's some real like poignant moments and some real like family stuff in there. And as much as I tried to keep it somewhat dramatic, I kept going back to the comedy because that's what I'm most comfortable doing. But I don't think I could work on like a CSI or NCIS or any of those other shows. I don't get it. I don't think I could do a good job at it.
Could I just say, though, Kirker, if you did an animated CSI, I think it would be brilliant. Don't you think?
For sure.
Kind of Archer meets something else. You know what I mean? Hi, welcome. Hi, do you have a question for Kirker?
Yes, I do. Hi, Kirker.
Hi.
Do you have any advice for writers who are starting off and want to get into animation?
I kind of fell into animation. It wasn't really a goal of mine. I was on What I Like About You, and I wrote a Family Guy spec. It was when the show had just come back, and I just wanted to write an animated show or something big and crazy like that to show that I could do something more than just write for these, for like 14-year-old girls. I wanted to write for 14-year-old boys, and so I wrote this Family Guy spec, and then Seth MacFarlane got it. And he called me in for an interview, and it never happens. Showrunners never read specs of their own show. And then he liked it enough to hire me. So it wasn't a plan or anything like that. But I would just give the same advice I would give to anyone who wanted to be a writer is just, work hard, write funny stuff. And when you are ready, when you find an agent or a manager or whatever, and they say, what do you want to do? And you say you want to work on animation, then, work with them and they'll let you know the best ways to go about getting it. But, it's the same advice, just work hard, write good stuff, and then, look for opportunities.
Hey, I'm going to ask one here, if that's okay, Kirker, and we'll get yours right after that. Before you were a huge mega star in the business, how much were you writing every day? What would you write in 1998? Well, how much would you be writing?
It depended. I at least a couple hours. I would wake up in the morning and it would be the first thing I would do. I wasn't what you would necessarily call employed. So I had a lot of time to kind of do whatever I wanted. So I would get up and the first thing I would do is I would write, and I would write that stack of stuff that I ended up giving the Friends showrunner is what I did in that period. I wrote like a Raymond spec and just everything I could think of. I learned to try different things. I think I even tried some poetry, which is probably just the worst choice in the world for me. But just everything, and it was a lot of output.
You get that poetry to Peter Gabriel. I sense some hits coming up. Okay.
I think you're right. If anything could convince him to read Unite with Genesis, it would be my poetry.
It's true. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Kirker. You were talking about transitioning from live action to animation. I was wondering if you have a different approach to writing, the two styles. Is it depend on the show, or do you approach each differently?
It's I've been really lucky in that I've been able to do very interesting shows, because I was with Seth for 8 years with Family Guy and then Cleveland, and then when I left, when Cleveland went down, I had a chance to go back to Family Guy, and I thought, I've done that, let's try something new. And that's when The Neighbors came along, which was this bizarre show about aliens living in a gated community in New Jersey. And, I thought, it's not animation, but it's pretty damn weird, and it'll be a great challenge. So it's been, and then I go from that to this medieval musical. So I think if I had gone from Family Guy to, and I mean, no offense to anybody who likes this show or whatever, but if I had gone from that to like Big Bang Theory, I think I would have had a real adjustment, because it's so different. But I got to go from animation to, aliens to musical. So it's been, very weird. But in terms of the process, it's all the same. It just kind of like the show is the show, and you just kind of write the show. And stuff that I do on my own is different from that. Pilot that I just sold is very different. And but yeah, it's all, you just kind of learn how to navigate writing other people's voices, and then when you have time to write in your own voice, that's what you do.
Now you're writing novels as well now.
Yeah. I wrote this novel. I've been working on it for several years, and St. Martin's Press, God knows why, they said they wanted it. I know why, because it's a fucking great book. Excuse me, sorry. It's a great
That's
book.
That's it.
So yeah, it's been a really interesting process, and it's, like I said, coming out in the end of March, and I'm very excited about it.
I just want to share again with our writers and our creatives in the house here. Again, it's constant motion, it's constant development, it's constant creativity, and I think too, as much as we get kind of narrow focused on television scripts, Kirker isn't overly concerned about the medium. He's going to write what he thinks is right to write and pursue that and keep going from there too. So, hi, do you have a question?
Hey, Kirker, it was really good we talked to you way earlier in the show. Hi. So my question to you is, for someone who's going out to LA, would you suggest to go out with more original drafts of scripts or spec scripts?
That is a great question. I will not read a spec script. If someone sends me a Big Bang Theory or a Middle or whatever other sitcom is on, I won't read it. I don't care. I think that if you get on a show, you can figure out the tone of the show and the voice of the show. I don't care about that. I want people with an original voice who are going to bring something new and interesting into the mix. Like I said, it's real easy to watch a season and a half of Big Bang and then pound out a Big Bang script. It's a lot harder to come up with an original idea and then write compelling characters and a compelling story that's funny, and do that on your own. So for me, it's always about the writer. It's not necessarily about the style or how well you can write in someone else's voice. I care about an original voice. But that being said, I am not. There are other people that would like to have spec scripts. So it's good to have both. Push the original stuff personally, and I think more and more people are reading original stuff. But it's good to have both.
I want to emphasize too one thing we talk about a lot in classes, and that's that. As much as people want to ignore the written word, as much as they want to, and you guys, we've talked about this a lot, feature films where the scripts are just miserable and they're not functional and they're not well crafted. You can, you've said to yourself many times, I could write as well as that. Maybe some of you can, maybe some of you can write better than that. But the thing, again, that I want to reinforce with Kirker here is this notion that the written word is really useful. It's productive, it's creative, it's functional. It makes you money, and the more discipline that we apply to that, the more that we can apply our talent to it, our voice to it, and things like that, the more it's going to pay us to do that. So I want you all to think about that, sharpening your skills. This is the guy right here in front of us who's showing us that path, that this can work. It does make sense. You do follow your voice, and you do work hard on it, and you end up with some pretty decent results. Give Kirker one more round of applause because we're almost wrapped up here, not quite. Because it's time for my question and answer lightning round. Kirker, I'm going to ask you a series of speed questions, and we need your first answer for each question, and points are doubled for this round, everybody in the audience, okay? Although no prizes are actually given to Kirker. So, Kirker, are you ready?
I think so, yes.
Okay, first, boxers or briefs?
Boxer briefs.
Good. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Family Guy or Simpsons?
Family Guy.
Yeah, actually, that's a trick question. The correct answer is The Cleveland Show. Okay, thank you. Beatles or Stones? Yeah. Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
Dickens or Bronte?
Dickens.
Han Solo or Captain Kirk?
Han Solo.
Neat or On the Rocks?
One Ice Cube.
Oh, very good. But with him, it's a big ice cube, too, so it doesn't melt real quick. Okay, two more. Ross or Rachel?
Rachel.
Good, smart man. He's a smart man. Okay, final bonus question. Who's the best teacher you ever had in your entire life?
Joe Key.
Give him a hand. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Kirker Butler. Give him a hand. Isn't that wonderful? We want to thank everybody for joining us. Am I live here? I think I'm live here. We want to thank everybody for joining us for this episode of Business of Show. We'll see you all real soon, and thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Kirker Butler. Thanks, everybody.